back to the Stitcher Girl podcast. Yes, it has been a hot minute since I did a podcast, and that's just the way life is sometimes. So today is Christmas Eve, December the 24th. It's midday. I'm coming to you from Moncton, New Brunswick, Canada. It has been a while, like I said, so I hope I remember how to do this. I'm probably going to tape this in chunks today, and then I'm going to consolidate and link everything together, because sometimes my phone seems to pass out at the 30-minute mark. So I made notes, so I want to be a serious podcaster here. I'm Julia Sinclair, for those of you who are like new. welcome. And to those, thanks for coming back. If you have come back, thank you. I have 80 subscribers, so that's pretty cool considering I've only done maybe 3 podcasts. I think this is the 4th one. In October, I did do a special one about my trip to Vancouver to Knit City. And this is a podcast just not about cross stitch or knitting. It can be about crochet, rug hooking, spinning. What else do I do? Quilting, surface embroidery. So it can be about a lot of different things that I make. So welcome to one and all, regardless of your making situation. I'm happy to spend time with you, and I hope you enjoy spending time with me. Lately, though, I've been on this cross stitch binge, and it's been quite the binge. But it's been a good binge. I used to do it way back in the early noughts, the 2000s. I cross-stitched before that as well, in the 90s and that, but I took a break from it for a while, and then I got these cats, Wellington and Cherub, and I'm sure they're going to make, well, we always hear Cherub. Wellington, though, likes to make an appearance. And for those of you who've watched previous episodes, you know there's lots of cat hijinks during an episode, because that's when they decide to act out. I always forget to feed and water them before a podcast. So we just have to make do. But it's always fun. I don't know. They're staring at the ceiling right now, so I don't know if that's good or bad. So it's been, I think the last podcast, like I said, was that special Knit City at the end of October. But before that, though, I had been, I attended, there was the Nova Scotia Fiber Arts Festival, which happens in Amherst every year. It's the week after Thanksgiving. And there was, I have a friend who has a quilt shop in Amherst, and so I go and help her out for a bit when I'm not working. And then there is something called the Zonta Fiber Arts Bazaar on Saturday at the Armory, and that's always a ton of fun. It is, for me, I think it's the marquee event. And this is a bazaar of artisans, of whether they're yarn dyers, quilt makers. There was a man there who makes spindles, and there was hooked rugs, all kinds of goodness, plus a nice lunch. So that's always lots of fun to attend and see what's happening. Predominantly maritime makers, and yeah, it's a good time. I bought some yarn. I'll show that later. And as I think you all know, or the few of you that watch this, I am a licensed practical nurse, and I work night shift. And my new motto is, don't judge me. I work night shift. because I'm continually asking people when I'm out and doing things like, excuse me, but what's the date? What day of the week is it? And then I'll say, don't mind me, I work night shift. Anyway, so that's my new mantra now. So if I'm coming across as being more loopy than normal, it's the whole night shift thing. And I like night shift. I love working night shift. I work in long-term care. It is a hoot. Every night is different. The stuff that happens, the residents, it's just lots of entertainment. So we had the time change, right? Remember way back when? Yeah. And then I think that made me a little like low. My spirits were low. You know, that meant there was even less daylight and working night shift. I try to get this good balance of sun, and that's Wellington. They always have to explore when I'm doing this. And I try to make sure I'm getting lots of vitamin D and make sure I do get some sunlight every day. But I think, you know, everybody kind of in the northern hemisphere, I think maybe depending on where you live, we all kind of experience perhaps a little bit of a low. Some of us do anyways, maybe some more than others. And then I got, okay, are you sitting? Are you sitting? Are you sitting? Okay, first of all, today's podcast is brought to you by Grower Cider. And let's all just cheers to the season. That flavor is Bartlett pear, so it's kind of on the sweet side of cider. Very tasty. So yeah, so I got a work injury in November. The middle of November, I had a freaking work injury. And I immediately, like within 24 hours, I started physio, and that was awesome possum. And I've been going twice a week since the middle of November. I never stopped working though. I never stopped working, and I always worked my 8-hour shift. I just had reduced workload. My injury involved trying to reposition a resident, and even though I had help, I guess my body mechanics or whatever, just, you know, something went, ooh, something didn't feel right. And then I started developing a sciatica pain down my back, and I'm like, ooh, something's wrong this time. And when they gave me the like book of papers that I had to fill out because of a work injury, I almost said, you know what, I think I'll just go home and take a couple of Robaxes. But no, I'm glad I filled out the paperwork and immediately started physio. And it's been a week now since I've been back to my full duties. And yeah, so it's a little scary, but you know, I think I have a great understanding now of my body and the types of movements my body likes. And like, I don't want this to get kinky, but but no, my physio was explaining to me how when I'm taking care of residents, my body prefers to push as opposed to pulling. And so now I try to think more about things like that, my body position, when I'm bending, my body weight, how I'm trying to not put all my weight on one leg, and just try to be more mindful of the whole process, you know, pulling somebody up in bed, turning them on their side, you know, take the time, take that extra minute, think about what you're doing, then do your movements, your maneuvers, using your good body mechanics. So for those who are super curious, it was like a T12 jam. Very technical term. That's referring to the thoracic 12, that 12th vertebrae of the thoracic spine. So it's more of a mid to upper back area. And so if you're going to hurt your back, my physio said, Julia, like, you hit the bullseye. Yeah, I'm always a rock star, let me tell you. And so, yeah, so that's been really cool, and I'm back. It wasn't cool, but now it's cool because I think I've learned so much, and I'm able to share that with my coworkers and help them too. You know, hey, this isn't a race. Let's think, what are we going to do? What are we trying to do? Let's think it out. Let's talk it out. Let's think it out. So I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. Yeah, you know, and so there was some other stuff going on too, and that kind of took me away from making stuff, crafting, stitching, knitting. I had started knitting some things for Christmas, and then I kind of lost my mojo for that stuff because I was, you know, my mind was elsewhere. And while for some people it's a comfort to do these things, for me, like, I just didn't feel like doing anything. And where I was going to physio and still working, I wasn't necessarily sleeping super well either, especially in the beginning of my injury, because I would have like headaches and stuff. And yeah, but I got through that. So I'm back, and I hope to be back more often. So, welcome Sie, bienvenue, bienvenuto, and welcome. Hi. So yeah, so that's what's been going on since about mid-October. Now, I've been thinking a lot about how I approach this podcast and try to be somewhat more organized to it. And it is a learning process, right? As you go, you refine, you take out things, you add things, you find what suits you, your personality, and so forth. Well, I thought, because I have this history of making things. You know, I'm 50. I know. Stop. It's true. I am 50. So I have been playing with needles and thread for a few years. And so I thought it would be a cool segment would be to have a blast from the past segment. And I thought, well, it's Christmas time, so let's dig out some of those ornaments. And unfortunately this year, I'm not having a Christmas tree again. But that's okay. There's a Christmas tree at my parents' place. So I'll, you know, and there's like 20,000 trees where I work. So I'm not missing out on the whole tree thing. That's for sure. But I thought I would show you some of the ornaments that I've made over the years. Now this one is, this was probably one of the first ones I've made when I belonged with the Lakeshore Creative Stitchery Guild. I guess I just had learned how to do hardanger. And I might have had a pattern. I think I do have a booklet, leaflet somewhere that has Christmas motifs done in hardanger style, which is Swedish embroidery, where you cluster blocks is one of the main components, and then the buttonhole stitch, and then you can see there was some cutting that happened in this design, and then you have what are called filling stitches. If you see this red, that is some kind of a filling stitch, and then at the bottom there are some holes where I've cut the threads away, and I have a piece of fabric behind. So this was just one of those little plastic frames that you could get at a basic craft store. I don't think these craft stores exist anymore in Canada. I think we had something called Lewis Craft and maybe White Rose at one time. And this was a long time ago, people. And this might have even been a little one of these ornaments that came in a little cross-stitch kit, and I just used it for this. So that would be like the early years of Julia's ornament making, okay? Then Back in the day when people were following blogs all the time, I came across this cute little pattern to make a bird to hang on the tree. Now that's just some really nice quilter's cotton. That cord comes from the dollar store, and the wings were attached, as you can see, and there's just some like batting stuff in there, and maybe there should be an eye, maybe not, who cares. But it's the cutest little thing, and just a cute little Christmas ornament. Then I'm not sure what comes next. This one might come next because it says 2005 on the back. This is an Ellen Chester with Thy Needle that comes from a cross stitch ornament issue, and I believe it's 2002. That is a blue Monaco fabric. Those little sheep are done 1/1, and aren't they just the bomb? Oh my God. And I use some kind of variegated thread because they're kind of gray and white together. And those trees are some kind of variegated thread too. And then this is a handmade cord. So using using my dad's power tools, using a drill. My mom and I were making our cords at one point, and so this is not even pearl cotton. It's just regular DMC embroidery floss, and there's some kind of attachment on a drill that has just a hook, and then you can hook the floss on, and it goes around and around and around, and it twists, and then you get a really great cord. So making an ornament like this, as you probably all know, you would have some cardboard that you would cover with fabric. In this case, I just used this I think, Monaco cloth. And in the front, we probably use those boards that are sticky on one side, you know. And but I think we add a little fluff in there, a little bit of batting, because it's a soft. And then we would lace the ornament or glue the ornament to that piece of cardboard, and then whip stitch the two, the back and the front, together, and then whip stitch the cord on. And because there's metallic thread involved, it's a hot mess at the bottom here. But that is just stunning. Then, oh dear, Cherub's on. Cherub. Oh. Cherub. Everything's a toy with Cherub. This is a Britter cup. A Britter cup design. And I'm sure I got that again from another just cross stitch magazine. So these would have been magazines in the early noughts, in the 2000s. And that little tree, you can see I found these cute little star sequins. And I used a little bead to keep them in place. And this is a dollar store trim with the little tassels. So you can see, I think Mom and I got tired of making cord. But if you can find something in the dollar store, I mean, awesome. And then I had this cute little cat fabric. So yeah, so that was, okay, vamos, vamos, vamos. Vamos, this is not playtime. This is podcast time. So I thought I would do a little blast from the past. And today I also wanted to introduce, I just named her actually. This is Miss Violet. Isn't she a scream? Oh my God. Can you see her? Look at her. And yes, you're probably thinking, Julia, did you get the name from like Downton Abbey? Well, hey, if the shoe fits, Violet Crawley, come on. The Dowager Countess. Isn't she awesome? Look at her. This is something I got at that Zonta Bazaar I went to. There's this lady who, she takes stuff. You know, she takes stuff that, you know, and she makes things. Like, this looks like, oh my goodness. that's like a brooch, obviously. She's put lace on the sleeves. Well, we won't go too far up her skirt, but, you know, she's made little cat markings on her and that feather. And this is like obviously some recycled fur or something. And if it is real fur, like I didn't know. But if it's faux fur, well, of course, I'm very conscious about that stuff. It kind of has this crazy embroidery on it there. But isn't she? Oh my God, the sunlight is really out today. Isn't she precious? I just love her. So she is my mascot, Violet. She doesn't talk though. So, some administrative stuff. How can you find me? How can you find me? Oh my God. Well, this is the Stitcher Girl podcast. And I have to look it up because I don't remember this stuff. I'm a very busy person. Here. So I'm on Instagram and it's at stitchergurlca. Gurl. Stitchergirlca. Ravelry, I'm also there, but not as often. And it's Stitchergirlca. Girl. Yes, I know that's confusing and annoying, but that's the way it is. Anyway, so come find me. I post quite a few pictures of stuff that I'm working on Instagram. And that's how I connect quite quickly with a lot of people. Since I work night shift, it's great because I'm getting people in the West Coast. I'm getting people waking up in Europe. So it's just fantastic. And so administration stuff. Yes, I wanted to make some shout outs and thank yous. Some more thank yous. I wanted to take a moment to thank Cheryl McKinney of Tranquil Stitches for mentioning my podcast. Thank you, Cheryl. We all love you and thank you for what you do for the cross stitch community. She has bingo. Tranquil Stitches, check her out. And then I think some of you might have heard of this Ellen Reed person. Oh my Lord. Is it Maximum Power Hour, Cross Stitch Maximum? Well, I watch it. Sorry, I just think of it as the Ellen Reed show. But Ellen is a hoot. She's a Canadian Stitcher girl, and among other things. And she's an absolute riot. And I'm sure you all know that already because... Anyways, I wanted to thank her for mentioning me on her podcast as well. So thank you, Ellen, for that. That was great. Ooh, this is good. And I also want to mention JennyMcStitcher. That is the name of a podcast. Jenny in Hamilton. I was a recent winner of a Pass the Stash giveaway. And if you follow me on Instagram, you will have seen this, the Yule Queen. And I started that the other day on the winter solstice. So I'm doing a winter solstice Sal stitch along. I might be by myself, but that's okay. If you want to join, you can. It doesn't have to be this pattern. It can be anything related to the winter season because that goes until like March, right? So snowmen, winter scenes, animals in the forest, you know, use your imagination, stitch along. So thank you so much. She also sent me too the Fancy Floss, the Gentle Arts Barn Gray, which is used down here in the skirt. But because I am my mother's daughter, thank you though, Jenny, for the thread, I decided to go a different way. And that's because of the fabric that I used. I didn't think the Barn Gray was going to show up very well. So more about that later. And so thank you for the lovely card, Jenny. And I had a giveaway way back when. And the winner was Margaret Saz, a Torontonian. And I want to thank her for her lovely card that she sent me. And it's a bird of feathers design, you all. You all, bird of feathers. So now I have another unicorn stash, unicorn chart. Like, this is a beautiful sampler. I've gone and researched it on the friggin' YouTube and not the YouTube, the Google. And of course now I have another unicorn chart. Life is good. So, hugs and kisses. Thank you to one and all that mentioned me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you, love you, love you. So, now it's time to talk FFOs. I'm back. I'm back. So, now we're going to talk about FFOs. Finally, effing over, or no, they're not even fine. They're not even finished. Oh my God. They're not even. So don't even listen to me. I'm talking gobbledygook. So first up is the Stitcher by Homespun Elegance. And you may recall that's what it looks like. And I totally changed the color palette for this. I went with mauves, purples, and gray. And the only thing left I have to do is, you see the cat? It was X's for the eyes. I'm just going to put 2 little black beads in there and call it a day. And for the hair, I made it look more like mine when I have it in a bun. But I'm going to have to make it look a little more messy. Oh my God, the lighting is too good today. I'm getting a suntan sitting here. And the other thing that is finished, you will have seen this as well on, oh Julia, here we go. My organization has failed me already. Here, Yule. This is a Primitive Hare freebie, and I made space. I moved the Yule up so I could get in the 2019. And I'm going to make it into a pillow. And I found this gorgeous quilting fabric in my stash. Can you, oh my God, yes. I am professional. There we go. Do you see? Perfection. I have this huge stash of reproduction quilting fabrics because I'm supposed to be making the Dear Jane quilt. And if you don't know what that is, you are blessed. I've started it. I've made maybe half a dozen blocks, and there's like 20,000 blocks. And can you see? I am getting son of my. So yeah, so that's precious, and that's something that you could do for a winter solstice sale. And this was the first time, well, you know, there's that rule about red work and all that stuff that's going on, and all these rules. I wish somebody would just write the friggin' handbook already. But this was supposed to be on darker fabric with darker colors, you know, more in the Primitive Hare style. But I consider this an amazing palette cleanser. I think this is what got my mojo back. Just doing this in red and just one thread color. And this fabric is a platinum Zweigart, and I just enjoyed it so much. I couldn't put it down. It took me literally no time to do this. So that was so much fun. And it would make a really nice ornament too. So that's that. So I'll be back with my Whips. Whips. How exciting is this? I have some great whips to show you. And where shall we start? Okay, so some of these, I don't necessarily have charts for them. They were freebies. So I'll put a picture in somewhere. And the lighting's better now. Maybe not. Okay, so a recent one that I just started. I did this on December the 13th. Remember how I love this woman? Well, Brenda Gervais, but I also love this witch. Isn't she the bomb? I love her. So I have a pile of whips here on the bed. So I started this, and this is, yes, I know, Wellington. It's so exciting. He's so excited. This is where I am so far. I'm doing this on 28 count. It's a DMC even weave, and the color is sand. And I'm just using whatever threads I feel like using for this. I can tell you, though, as part of my my collector group that I belong to with Traditional Stitches, Garden Gate came, I think, in November. And I'm using that for the trees. I don't know if I have enough, but I just thought it was a perfect color for trees because it was gray and brown and stuff. Yeah. It's nap time, children. And there will be some DMC as well as some fancy floss in that. So I'm very excited. So I started that on December the 13th, which of course is dark stitching, right? When they stitch on the 13th of the month. But when there's a 31st of the month, I'm also going to work on this project. So that's a lot of fun. I'm glad I finally started her, and I think about her almost every day, and I can't wait to get back to her next week. So that's cool. So dark 13 stitching. Well, Halloween, October. Some people did dark stitching all month. I started out, I did an owl. It was a primitive, prairie schooler freebie owl. But in the Just Cross Stitch magazine, this butterfly was in there. Now you may recognize this. Quite a few people were doing it. But just it being black and orange was really just too much excitement for me. So I'm jazzing it up with a Weeks Dye Works I found called Confetti. And it has like some orange and red and green and blues and yellows in it. So it might be a Caribbean Halloween butterfly by the time it's all said and done. But yeah, I just wanted to jazz it up with a little more color. This is my first attempt at the coffee and tea dyeing linen. And then I know I talked to you about doing other Halloween patterns, but then when I realized how much stitching was involved, I was like, girl, no, we'll come back to those. This one is called Home Sweet Haunted Home, and I've started the lettering. And I didn't wash, this is the same linen, but I did rinse it out a bit, so it's not as dark as the butterfly is. So that's kind of fun. And I'm using the sulky black to do the black lettering on this instead of the black 310 DMC, my favorite. Children. And Lindy Stitches came out with a freebie back in September. Is it Little Urn of Horrors? And I started it and I was having a blast and I was doing my own color thing like I do. And I got to get back to it and finish it. And this is on that same fabric, coffee tea dyed. And yeah, I haven't looked at that in a while. But you know, it's on a list. It's on a list like they all are. Now, can we talk about Sally Spencer, please? Sally Spencer. There is a sale for Sally Spencer, Olivia Pumpkin Hollow Quilts, and somebody of Canopied Stitches. I think they were the two hosting. This is the chart. This is a Birds of Feather. This is an out-of-print chart, like many of the Birds of Feather seem to be. And I was just drawn to this. This is the one, if you're new, I found it on Japan's version of eBay. And I just got it. And the lady that sent it to me, there were two little charms, a bird and a four-leaf clover. So that was super cool. So I'm hoping at some point to get them on the piece. Here she is. This one always makes me happy when I work on it. It's just the way it is, I guess. And there are some threads hanging, but can you, okay, let me hold it back. See, this is done on 28 count. It's not a super big sampler. I'm not really using the called fors either. Excuse me. Brethren Blue, I think, is the only one that I'm using, and I'm using Cherry Wine for the red, and I just love it. And I was running out of the brown. Well, it's supposed to be Black Crow, but I'm using dark chocolate, and I'm running out of dark chocolate. And when I went to my LNS the other day to get more dark chocolate, different dye lot whatsoever, and so I picked up, was it a color? Oh dear. I picked up another one that looked more like it. Different, not Weeks dyes. I don't think the other, is it Crescent Colors? You know what I mean. But I have a DMC floss that's very similar. And yeah, so I think Olivia mentioned that it took more. And the Brethren Blue, like I'm probably going to run out of Brethren Blue too, but we'll see. As you can see, like the J, I'm doing that in the red, and I'm going to do the S in the red because those are my initials. And the plan is throughout, there are initials all over the place if you've seen the sampler up close. And I'm going to put the initials in of my mother and my grandmother's paternal and maternal, grand and great, I think. Yeah, if it fits. So that's pretty cool. So I'm really happy with that. That's lots of fun. Not so much this DMC linen. But, you know, everything is learning. Now, let's start with something that's in timeout. And if you want to watch a fun yarn podcast, Chevyrell's podcast, Chevyrell, I'll put all that down below. And she's a great Friday night, you know, after the work week. You need a laugh. You need a few laughs. She is hilarious. When she puts something in timeout, she calls it FU timeout. It's an FU timeout. So Mary Crawley, or At the Met, or whatever you want to call this dame. I call her Mary Crawley. Maybe I shouldn't have called her Mary Crawley, but keep thinking about how she treats Edith and everything, and it gets me upset. But I was having problem with the black. I'm doing this on a 28 count, and the black wasn't going well. Now I'm going to show this, and you're all going to go, "Oh, Julia, it's so beautiful." Well, it is. It is freaking beautiful. But the black down here is the sulky thread, and the black up here is the DMC 310. I like this coverage better. So I'm slowly taking this out, and I'm going in again with the black. And there's a lot of black in this freaking dress. But, you know, once I get the bottom done, I'm going to be laughing. And I don't think I'm going to do a ton of beading either. Like, this was all supposed to be beading, but I had this beautiful silk thread. And I wasn't using very much of it. And I'm like, I paid $11 for that thread. I'm using it. So instead of doing crazy beading, which will probably like drive me crazy, I'm using my beautiful thread. And it just looks fantabulous. And there's some beading in here, which, have I decided if I'm doing it yet or not? I can't remember. But, yeah, I mean, she's in FU timeout right now, but she's coming back. This was my 50th birthday start back in June. Anyways, she's going to get done. She's going to get done. And I know now, just looking at it, I'm like, oh my God, she's so beautiful. And I haven't even done her face yet. Anyways, yeah, it's beautiful. It is a freaking beautiful pattern. Next time, though, 32 or 36 count on one of these babies, let me tell you. Especially if there's a lot of black. I'm not going down that road again. So, yeah, so that, okay. So now let's talk about my friend, Mary Clayton. I have another Mary in my life, Mary Clayton. She's only 9. And let me tell you, her manners are like far better than Mary Crawley's, okay? Mary Clayton is hands across the sea. 9 years old. Do you see that? 9 years old. Anyways, hands across the sea. This is a fantastic sampler, guys. I'm telling you, if you've never done a sampler before, this one is super easy. All of the pamphlets are just stunning from Hands Across the Sea. Look at this centerfold. It's just beautiful. Now, there are places where you can say, yeah, I can tell a 9-year-old did this. But seriously, Julia, 9-year-old doing this, I'm telling you, it would not look like this. Mary Crawley, 9-year-old in the 1800s, rock star. Rock star. So on the back, lovely here. Your colors, you have a DMC, an MPI, and a soie d'Alger if you want to go the silk route or the DMC route. Julia decided to go the Gentle Art Sampler route. So I took my chart and I went to my local needlework shop. And the day I was there, I actually kind of had the store to myself, and I had my own personal color consultant, Tim, I think his name was. And we picked colors together and we had fun. So we picked a good amount of colors to get me going. And I think I have them all now. I have them all, and I think I have enough. Because some of the Gentle Arts and the dye lots, like I'm using geranium for my red. I don't know if you can really see it here, but I think you can on the bird. On the bird. You see the belly of the bird, and there's red in the wings. It's the same red. So instead of having 2 different reds, I only bought 1 skein of geranium, and because of the way it's dyed, I'm able to use it in a way so it looks like I'm using 2 different reds. So that's kind of how I worked with it. The same thing too, there's a blue here. Can you see the blue? It's lighter here than it is here. But you see the lighter color here? Yeah. And then yeah, this is a lot of fun, I gotta say. The blue here, it's a turquoisey greeny blue. It's the same one used down here, and it may look a little different because of the way of the dye lot. Now down here, that is a cat. There is a dog in this pattern. Can you see him? There's a dog. I'm not a dog person, and I'm okay with that. I totally accept that. That is my thing. I am not a dog person. I'm an animal person, and yes, I do like dogs. Like when I see a dog outside, I'm not going to be like, don't come near me. I'm not a dog person. I'm not that kind of person. But I just, as a pet, that's not something I wouldn't not have a dog as a pet. I think unless I lived on a farm. So I put a cat in, and I'll just show you the cat again. I did the cat over one, you guys. Like, oh my God. I found a free pattern that had a cat, this cat, and I figured out that I was able to make it fit, and to make sure it even fit, I did it 1 over box dog. Yeah, so I was really happy about that. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so I'm really loving Mary Clayton, and I'm working with the Gentle Arts threads. It's been a hoot, and it's been a joy, and a ton of fun. So if you're curious to know the colors that I used, contact me either through here, through YouTube or Instagram, and I'll be more than happy to share with you. What else do I have? Well, I think everybody in the cross stitch community has heard about this Stitchy Noel design that came out by Patty of 4 Boys and a Newfoundland Girl. And if you went on Etsy, it costs $2, and $1 goes to Muscular Dystrophy Canada. Oh, this is where I'm going to bungle. I think Caroline of Off the Grid. Is it Off the Grid? Needle Arts? Off the Grid podcast. This charity is her. It's all about her. She has spearheaded this fundraising in this month of December for Muscular Dystrophy of Canada. There are several ways you can contribute. You can contribute by buying this pattern. You can go watch Michelle Bendy, who has her auctions, and you can bid on some wonderful items, and then you can directly donate to Muscular Dystrophy of Canada. But there's a special email address, I think, and you got to watch a Carolyn Off the Grid's podcast to get that information. And so Carolyn has been doing Flossmas. So those are like daily little YouTube entries. They're kind of like daily diary entries. She's been doing them. Patty, who created this design, has been doing it. You're probably looking at this and going, Julia, what happened to yours? Well, as always, Julia was in the punch, and I'm off like 4 threads or something, and instead of buttons, I'm doing some kind of Smyrna cross, something jiggery. I can't remember what it was, but I thought it would look awesome, and it does. There's just no way 6 are going to fit down there. So, and Michelle Bendy has been doing Flossmas as well, and there are a lot of Pam in Newfoundland as well. Crafty Corner, I believe her name is. So there's been a lot, and you know they've been helping me kind of get out of my funk and helping me get back, get my mojo back. So they're fun. They're short and sweet, and they're not long like this. That's for sure. This is like a friggin' novel, but it's a good one. So the last whip, which I mentioned earlier, is the Yule Queen by Primitive Hare. There's one fancy floss, and that is the Barn Gray, which goes down in here. It's the bodice of the dress, and then it alternates with a DMC gray. But because I'm Julia, the Stitcher Girl, I changed it out because I'm doing mine on this opalescent metallic fabric. I don't know if you can see it, but the opalescent thread had a bit of a blue to it. And this is called raw linen. It's not raw, but it's raw. That was funny. Raw linen. It's raw linen, and with this opalescent thread in there, and there's a bit of this like iridescent fleck, and it kind of looks bluey green to me. And I had this thread called Green Pasture, so I'm using that instead, and I think that's gonna look nice alternating with, this is the gray here, this DMC 37.99. But isn't she the bomb? So thank you again, Jenny, for the Pass the Stash giveaway that she did, and thanks for pulling my name. So that was tons of fun. So that's whips. There are knitting whips. I don't even know if I want to show the knitting whips. I have a shawl I started when I came back from Vancouver, and it was a pie shawl. I got so far in that, and I'm like, I think something's wrong. Pie shawl meaning I'm just knitting in a circle around and around and around. And I think something's wrong. Oh my God, Cherub got into my yarn. I have to pause. Crisis averted. Cherub is ridiculous when it comes to my yarn. It must be the smell or something they wash it with, but she always gets excited. I have come home. She has figured out how to open a closet. She opens the closet, and if I have yarn in a bag on the floor, she gets in, she pulls it out, and then I come home and there's a yarn massacre. Yarn massacre. I'm telling you, yarn massacre. And even my little curio hutch cabinet that I have, she's even figured out how to jimmy the door on that. And she's gotten in there and she's got yarn out too. I'm telling you. And right now, it's like she's high on catnip. She's like, I'm telling you, like, whoa. Which is a weekend. So, let's see. What did I want to talk about? Okay, so now I'm going to talk about things. Stash. I think stash is next. I think it's next. I have somebody on Instagram was talking about, oh, that's going to be one of my 20 and 20. And I'm like, what is that? Well, I'm going to be doing 20 projects in the year 2020. And I'm like, so I think I'm doing that now too, because I got problems. But no, I don't have problems. The thing is, though, it's just not going to be cross stitch. I haven't figured it out yet, but I'm going to do a video on this, another podcast on this. But I think I have some quilting projects that I want to get back to. So I think the 20 and 20 is going to include cross stitch, knitting, maybe a little rug hooking, definitely some quilting, and maybe some spinning. Because I do have a Turkish drop spindle, and I got to bring that out at some point. They're really fantastic, but I'm like a hot mess right now. Like, seriously, like, yeah. Oh, here she comes. So, with the all the Black Friday sales, and was it Manic Monday? What was it? It was Black sales and different things. I ordered a couple of patterns from Trish at Entwined Threads. I hope I got that right. She's so awesome right now. She's been doing these. She's been having these great sales on her site. I actually ordered a couple more patterns. Don't tell anybody. And but these two I ordered, and of all the stuff I ordered that weekend, that American weekend, Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, and was it Manic Monday? Whatever. The stuff that came The stuff I ordered from Entwine Threads came first. They win. So I had to get myself a Beth twist, and I did. Cross Stitch Nation. I think a lot of you are familiar with this one. One of these girls is definitely getting purple hair, let me tell you. So I'm looking forward to that, my first Beth twist. Oh my God. I'm just so excited. And I think there might be a sale in the new year, but I'm not 100% sure. Anyways, the other one. And since I got back into cross stitch, I saw this pattern and I'm like, I want this. I want to do this. I know it's humongous. I know I will probably die before I finish it, but I want this. And a 4 screw. I didn't realize there were so many colors in this pattern, and I didn't realize there were all these animals and birds. So I was so excited when I got this. Now I have to start collecting the 20,000 threads. I will be doing this in DMC. I'm not going to try and do a ghast on this. And this is quite, what is it, 400 by 200? It's a biggie. You need like a fat quarter of fabric to make this. And there is going to be a sale. I think it's called the Arbor Day sale. And I think that's the American Arbor Day, because I found out Canada has their own, of course, because we're Canada. And I think that one is September. But if you're going to start this, you probably want to start it in April, which is when the American one is. Anyway, so that's very exciting. I'm hoping if I hold this long enough, this will be the friggin' thumbnail for YouTube. So yeah, so that was great. The packaging, the way they came, they were so well packaged. So thank you again, Trish. It was a pleasure ordering something from you in California. That was good fun. So what else? My friend gave me a little Christmas present, and this is for all you quilters out there, and just not quilters, but this is the 2020 Kona calendar. Kona is just not, it's Robert Kaufman. Robert Kaufman is the company, and the Kona Cotton Solids is the particular design label, I guess you would say. And there are patterns for these quilts, these monochromatic quilts in the back. But I have to show you the month of January. Are you ready? Are you ready? So each day is one of the colors of the Kona Solids. Are you ready, people? Just a second. I got to find the first page. Oh, 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 purple. Oh, isn't that just divine? Divine, I said. And look at that quilt. I will never make that because there's triangles, but isn't that gorgeous? So that was good fun. What else came in the mail? I got some, well, my collection from Traditional Stitches, my Gentle Arts collection. This is what came for, are there 6 here? Yeah, I thought in December I would get Christmas colors. It's okay. They're all good, and they're going to be good for something. I just don't have the pattern yet. Then, I think these are the ones that came in November. Garden Gate came in November. Oh, maybe not. There was a carrot. Carrot too. I guess I took carrot out because I was thinking about it for a project. But they all kind of look like the same, do they not? Do they not? Anyways, so... oh, no, there's another pack. There's another pack. One of them had a bright, beautiful purple color in it. That was all good. So, yeah, I think I've done it. I think I went through. I was maybe just gonna, I don't know. Maybe I'll save the yarn stuff for another time because they're going to be part of my 2020. There were some mitts that I was also starting to work on, and they are specifically the trigger finger mitts. Doesn't that sound funny? That's just so Newfoundland. Trigger mitts, yeah. They're mittens, except the index finger is like a glove, if you know what I mean. If you know what I mean. And the purpose of those mittens were for people who worked outside. So if they were fishing or shooting, bow and archery stuff, whatever you do outside and you need to use your index finger a lot for things, you want trigger mitts. So yeah, so that was fun. And I really want to make an Andrea Mowry shawl, the Find Your Fate shawl. I have a ton of yarn to make that shawl, and it's time. And a sweater too. I started a sweater this past year. 3 different patterns. Didn't finish one because I didn't feel comfortable. So I think now, did I get everything in? I'll make notes like I always do. I do plan on doing a next episode next week, kind of like my plan for 2020 and the 20 of the 20. A little daunting, maybe not. But yeah, looking forward to that. I really need to set some goals so I can get some things finished. I have a quilt that's made, and I had it in my head that I had to hand quilt this thing. Because it's tradition. 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 So, yeah. So, oh, here comes Cherub. Cherub, do you want to say hi to everybody? Come see Mommy. Come see Mommy. Come see Mommy. Oh, dear. So, let's wish everybody Merry Christmas. Say Merry Christmas, baby. So, Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Go spin that dreidel. And Kwanzaa, happy Kwanzaa, and all that. And look at Cherub, precious. Oh, I have a giveaway. I'll do the giveaway next time. Let's get a few more subscribers, people. Come on now, get me over 100. Let's do this. Let's do this. Thank you so much for watching. As always, it's been a pleasure. Wishing you and your family all the best of the season. Take care out there if you're driving. Enjoy your loved ones. Take the time and take care of yourselves. All the best. Love you. See you next week. Bye.